Got it. Okay, welcome everyone to the First Friday Forum. We're happy to see you. We've got a little bit of a busy schedule today. So we're going to start actually hearing from Kent Edwards, who's our Sustainability Officer for the City of Delray Beach. And he's going to be talking a little bit about Climate and Art Weekend. He's literally on site at the very first event right now, and he's broadcasting from there. So I know everyone's excited about Climate and Art Weekend. I was at the Arts Warehouse yesterday for the CRA meeting, and they were putting up their exhibition. I know Arts Garage is doing some things for it. The Delray Beach Historical Society is also up for this weekend doing some things. So Kent, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can give us an idea of what's happening for Climate and Art Weekend.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, everyone. I am here at Orchard View Park, and I'm Ken Edwards with the City of Delray Beach. I'm here with my assistant, Mary Wasney, who is around getting ready for the start of the event this morning. And we're going to have a talk by Kara Abbott of the Institute for Regional Conservation. The city hired them to do some habitat restoration here at the site. There's a lot of invasive plants, and it's important that we maintain the natural habitat because it's more resilient that way. So very interesting talk and follow up on work that the city has done. We're going to have some classrooms here also so that that they'll be informed. That's a great kickoff event for us. It ties in with some of the other habitat restoration talk that I'll talk about in a minute. Later today, though, at noon at the Arts Garage, I hope some of you will be able to come out to that. Starting at noon, we'll have a light lunch that's provided in a network event. And then at 1 o'clock, we have a Resilience Around the Region panel that was organized by Aaron Deedy, local land use and planning attorney, very active in resilience legislation. And we have my counterparts from Broward County and Palm Beach County and the city of West Palm Beach talking about the kinds of resilience and sustainability activities that they have. So tree planting is very common, habitat restoration, also stormwater and other kinds of construction, because climate change is going to have impacts on us, but we can face those if we start to plan and implement now. And then, excuse me. Then at 2:30 today at the Arts Warehouse, there will be an opening exhibit for the Climate and Art call that was done there. It's going to be a very full exhibit, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that there. Then tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock at the Atlantic Pavilion, there is a talk by George Gann, who has worked on the dune here in Delray Beach doing restoration work. And really looking forward to the contrast between the historic hardscapes that were installed but then failed and had to be removed versus the approach today, which is the use of the natural vegetation, which really holds the beach much better, and the ongoing activities to have that dune, which I think really pulls in people because they want to see that natural Florida dune. So there are several other activities that are going on. Really appreciate the Chamber's support, and I know that they've posted some of the flyers for those events. I want to say a big thank you to all of our partners. And also, if you go to the city's Facebook page, there are links to the full schedule of events, and hope that you'll come out and support those.
Thank you, Kent. So for anyone who's just joined, if you take a look in the chat, we've posted all the flyers for the activities that are going on this weekend. So definitely check that out. And really, there's a lot of excitement yesterday, like I was saying, at the Arts Warehouse from a lot of the partners that are going to be participating this weekend. So it looks like it's going to be a beautiful weekend. It's a beautiful day where you are. Thank you so much for zooming in from on site at the kickoff of your weekend. So thank you, Kent. Any questions? Anyone for Kent while we've got him? Nope. Okay. Well, good luck. We're excited for that.
Thank you. Happy Friday and happy Climate and Art Weekend.
Thanks, Ken. So what we're going to do, so Representative Skidmore is going to be here in a couple minutes. I think she just came on. So briefly, I'm just going to go ahead and give you our chamber report for this month. When I did the email to send out to all of you earlier this week, I I was a little nervous because we've got a lot going on. It's a little bit quiet over July and August. As you know, a lot of people are traveling and that's our planning time period, but we're back in full force now in terms of all the activities that we have going on in September. So just to give you a brief overview, the Nonprofit Council will be Tuesday, right after Labor Day weekend. And we're actually going to be hearing from Barbara Stark, who's going to talk a little bit about end of year funding and how to make those asks. So that's very useful for a nonprofit council, and for-profits can come to nonprofit council too. The reason we do that is because we've developed a lot of partnerships through that, especially for Do Good Delray, which is going to be kicking off in October. And speaking of Do Good Delray, that's where we partner a nonprofit with a for-profit organization, and they do fundraisers for the nonprofit throughout the month of October. And we have 27 partnerships and 27 events during the month of October as fundraisers for our nonprofit organization. So we'll tell you more about that at the next First Friday Forum. The Real Estate Roundtable is going to be on September 8th. That's at Sklar Furnishings. And we're going to be having a speaker. I can't even read it, sorry. Christina Morrison, she's on the call right now. Can you give us a quick update on who the speaker is for Real Estate Roundtable on September 8th? Christina, I know you're there. Okay, back to Christina later. We've got a lot of new members joining. We've already met our goal for new members for the year 2022 and counting. So our new member Jumpstart, which is always hosted by Kim Beckett, she's on this call today, will be Thursday, September 15th. And that's going to be at the chamber. It's a morning meeting. And even if you need a refresher for those of you that have joined recently, please come in and we'll go through all of the benefits that you have as a chamber member. And like I said, for members that have been here for a while, it's a good refresher because we always have new benefits coming online. So that's on September 15th at 8:30 at the chamber. We also have our Chamber U program is restarting. So on Friday, September 16th, from 11:30 to 1, it's a lunch and learn on a Friday. The subject is Let's Get Social. And our social media agency, Master Wing Creative, is fabulous. They do a great job for us, and they'll be doing a presentation over lunch. I highly recommend anyone come to that because they did a similar presentation for the We Heart Small Biz Month that the city produced in May. And it's probably one of the best presentations I've seen on social media. And I'm a marketing person myself. So you definitely want to sign up for that. That's Friday, September 16th. We've got our Greetings to Meetings networking workshop. So it's the last one of this year. Our speaker has been our guest throughout the year, which is Daniel Hartwell from United Rewalk. And he's also doing Beatles on the Beach. He's a premier networker. So Greetings to Meetings is another great event for especially new members to come to. And that's going to be at 8:30 on September 20th. Our core men's group is off to a great start. This is their second event. It's going to be Motors and Martinis, and that's on Wednesday, September 21st. And it's going to be at Haggerty Car and Social. This is a great new group, and CORE stands for Creating Opportunities for, oh, what is it? Someone's got to tell me. Creating
original relationships and experiences.
Sorry, it's a brand new group. You have to forgive me for that. But that's September 21st, and it'll be Haggerty Car and Social. Our Contacts and Cocktails is going to be at the Condi Center. That's going to be a really fun one. That's on September 22nd. And then YPAD is on September 28th. That's for our Young Professionals group. And then we have our Tourism Roundtable on September 29th. That's via Zoom. We're going to hear from Discover the Palm Beaches as well as Visit Florida. They're going to be giving us an update on what happened during summer. How do we do during summer? What do the numbers look like? And try to do some predictions of what's going over into the fall and first season. So we've got a lot going on at September at the Chamber, and we hope to see you at some of these events. So I just want to check to see if Representative Skidmore is on the line. I believe she is.
Yes.
Okay, are you there? Great.
I'm here.
All right, so very quickly, Kelly Skidmore is our Florida House of Representatives for District 81, which is Delray west of 95 primarily. So she was also part of the redistricting subcommittee. So we're going to have some questions for you about that as well. So you can fill us in on who is representing where, because we need a little help with that. She's also on the tourism, infrastructure, and energy subcommittee. So those are items that are near and dear to our heart. And I was reading in her bio that she loves voting, cooking, and reading. So she's a woman after my own heart. I love all those things as well. So that's pretty interesting. And today she's going to be talking about the Florida blue economy and maximizing Florida's water resources. So very timely for our climate and art weekend that we have coming up in the city. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Representative Skidmore.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me today. And thank you everyone for being here early morning on a holiday weekend. I have a PowerPoint. I don't know if you want me to share that or if it's easier if I just go through it. But if you want me to share my desktop, I could do that as well.
That would be great. We've all learned how to do that in these years of the pandemic. So yes, please do.
So I wanted to talk briefly about legislation that we passed that impacts businesses and chamber members. That's the internet sales tax, the civil liabilities for COVID, the Florida sales tax exemptions and holidays, some resources for small businesses, and then go right into the blue economy, which is something I'm super passionate about. So many of you might know this already, but in 2021, the legislature passed Senate Bill 50, which now allows the state to collect sales tax from online purchases that previously were not being taxed. We had a use tax, which required consumers to, when they purchase something online, to determine the tax themselves, calculate that tax, write a check to the Florida Department of Revenue and send it in. And of course, that very, very little compliance was happening with that. So we changed the law so that online purchases would be taxed in the state of Florida, and the revenue from that tax is deposited into the Unemployment Compensation Trust Fund until it is replenished to pre-pandemic levels. So as you know, unemployment just really was overwhelming the state during the pandemic. So those taxes that are being collected will go into the UCTF. And then when it reaches its pre-pandemic balance, we'll continue to reduce the business rent tax until we get down to 2%. Florida is the only state in the country that charges sales tax on commercial rent. And so we're trying to get to that place in a gradual way where we can eliminate that. And so once we reach the pre-pandemic balance in the UCTF, that money will start to replace the commercial lease tax, and we can get to zero eventually. CS for SB 72 was the civil liability for damages relating to COVID. It provided heightened liability protections against COVID-related claims. We did that in 21, and then we reinstated it in 22. We also, that pertained to businesses as well as healthcare providers. There are a number of sales tax exemptions that were passed in the last 2 years. There are some that have passed already, just going over those quickly. We had exemptions on children's books, disaster preparedness. We had a Freedom Week. We had back to school. We have tool time that's starting tomorrow. And this is a very new one, near and dear to my husband's heart. So all tools, there's a whole list of them available online. What is tax exempt? Ongoing, there are 3 that are multi-year tax exemptions, which is very helpful for consumers. Excuse me, consumers. Energy Star, It started on July 1 and it goes to June 30th, 2023. Those are Energy Star appliances, diapers, baby and toddler clothing, also going through 23. And then ongoing through 2024, impact resistant doors and windows. So those are really consumer friendly tax savings. I wanted to let you guys know the Department of Economic Opportunity incentive programs. There are a number of programs that provide access to capital or technical assistance for new businesses or small businesses. There is a whole list of things. Just want you to know this resource is available to you. For example, the Florida Small Business Loan Fund, the Emergency Bridge Loan, things like that are available to you as small businesses. Just want to make sure you know about those resources because they can be very, very helpful. So now let's jump into the blue economy. Some of you may have heard me talk about the blue economy. Some of you might not have any idea what the blue economy is. Broadly, it refers to the sustainable use of water resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs. So we're not talking necessarily about the environmental health of our waters, but of course, our economic health is tied to that environmental health. There are other agencies that are looking after the environmental health, whether that's the Department of Environmental Protection, the Department of Health, Visit Florida, a bunch of other agencies that are looking at the environmental health. We want Florida to focus on the economic opportunities that our water resources provide. That's renewable energy, fisheries, that's aquaculture, maritime industries, which includes transportation, ports, cargo, recreation, tourism, self-explanatory. If you look at this hydrological map of the state of Florida, it is shocking. There is no part of this state that doesn't have an abundance of water. And think about the most recognizable peninsula in the United States with the Gulf on one side, the Atlantic, the Everglades, Lake Okeechobee, rivers, estuaries, springs, the aquifer. Our state is literally built on its water resources, but we don't have an agency that is looking out for the economic health of our water resources. The blue economy is a global effort, and it's unfortunate that Florida has not planted a flag yet. When people outside of the US or inside the US are talking about the blue economy, they're talking about San Diego, they're talking about Rhode Island, they're talking about Norway and Portugal, and no one is talking about the state of Florida. And I want to change that. And I want to change that by creating the Office of the Blue Economy so that there is a concentrated, coordinated, and collaborative effort to make sure that we are connecting all the dots. These are just some facts. We have the second after Alaska, we have the most miles of coastline. From any point in the state of Florida, you are 60 miles away from a body of salt water. There are more than 1 million jobs that are directly or indirectly created by activities that use our coastal resources, and the economic dollar amount is 73.9, almost $74 billion to the state of Florida. The United Nations every 10 years creates a decade of development. This decade that we're in is the decade of ocean science for sustainable development. And this is something that, again, it's happening all over the globe. And I want Florida to be a part of this conversation. The marine realm is the largest component of the Earth's system that stabilizes climate and supports life on Earth and human well-being. The United Nations is focused on this, and they want all of the science community, the environmental community and the economic development community to be working together to take advantage of the opportunities that are available. So the Office of the Blue Economy would be held within the Department of Economic Opportunity. Sometimes DEO feels like, you know, we kind of put everything in there under their umbrella, but it is the perfect fit. It is the right fit. And it would serve to promote the innovation of academic research that's being conducted in our Florida colleges and universities, to encourage collaboration between those universities, and to create that pipeline of funding for the blue economy and related issues. So for example, we started a few years ago, the Marine Research Hub of South Florida. That's 4 universities, 2 public, 2 private, the 3 economic development organizations, Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, Fort Lauderdale, Greater Fort Lauderdale Economic Council, and the Beacon Council in Miami-Dade. Those organizations work together. We created collaboration among those 4 universities. We provided economic development advice. And then the Marine Research Hub partnered with an organization called Ocean Exchange that provides startup funding in a competitive award arena. So you've got that pipeline, which is exactly what needs to be replicated around the state of Florida. Academic research, economic development, and startup funding. We've got some incubators, we have FAU, we have NOVA. We need to be coordinating all of that with an office at the highest level in the state to make sure that we're taking advantage of all of the opportunities that are available to us. It would promote job creation and economic growth. We would have reporting that our economic agencies would be able to use, and a biennial evaluation of Florida's blue economy. The Florida House did something very creative this year, and it has a fund that House members were allowed to put in a request for funding for a variety of things impacting our district or the state or counties. So we have put in a request for a Blue Economy Summit. We are working with UF, UCF, the Florida Ocean Alliance, the federal government, to get all of the stakeholders together and start this movement to make sure we are not missing out on the global impact of the blue economy. So that is essentially the passion that our office has for economic development that is untapped. There are some examples I just want to leave you with. At Florida Atlantic University, researchers have developed, they can cure pancreatic cancer. They can kill pancreatic cancer cells in the lab using elements of a deep water sponge. At Florida International University, they can mimic shark skin on scalpels and catheters to eliminate the risk of MRSA and other infections, because nothing sticks to shark skin. So these are the kinds of things that, if given the opportunity, we could help monetize and commercialize these incredible research projects that are not designed to be commercialized in the academic realm. So research is often done for the sake of research. We want to make sure that the research that's being done has an impact, gets to its end goal. We should be curing pancreatic cancer if we know that something that we can harvest sustainably from our oceans can kill pancreatic cancer cells. So those are the reasons why I think it is very important that we have oversight all of this, that we inventory what we have. I think it's always important to know what you own, so you know what you can protect. So I will leave it open to questions about this or any other subject you want, including redistricting or any other things that the legislature is doing or might be doing. I know a lot of people are concerned about homeowners insurance and rents and things like that. So I'm happy to answer any of those questions. And I will stop sharing my screen and take any questions you have. Thank you.
That was super interesting. What can just the average person do to support some of your efforts?
Well, there are a lot of projects and programs going on in everybody's backyards that they don't know about. So I would say if you're, if you have connections to Florida Atlantic University or Lynn University or any place where research is being conducted that has the opportunity to solve some of the world's biggest challenges, quite honestly, let's get those inventoried. And, all hands on deck, no pun intended, would help with that effort. So on the call with us today is my legislative aide, Dr. Gwen Gonzalez, and my district aide, Amy Chamberlain. They are, there's Gwen waving. They are the full-time employees who get all the work done, do all the labor, and anything that you need, want more information. We have a lot of reports that we can share with you. I don't want to overload you with data if it's not meaningful, but we have a lot of things that we can share with you that can help you understand what we're doing. If you at the Delray Chamber wanted to create a small committee that was looking specifically at these issues in Delray Beach and what we could do sustainably there, we'd be happy to help you with that as well.
Well, that's great. We heard from Kent Edwards this morning. As you know, he's our sustainability officer. So one way that I think that just the average person could get involved literally is to come to some of the events at the Climate Art Weekend, which we posted in the chat. There's going to be a talk by George Gann of the IRC, who's a nationally renowned speaker in terms of sustainability. So that's a good opportunity to learn what's happening as well. And Kent's always on our calls in the morning, so we can ask him more about that. But it's super important to our economy, just for our living here. But I mean, it's also important to tourism too. We need to have a beautiful place for people to come visit. And you're also on the tourism and infrastructure committee subcommittees as well. So that ties in together, I think.
One of the things the University of Miami is looking at is tracking and mapping sargassum mats. So sargassum is giant sheets of seaweed. And while they're very important, while they're very important to the biodiversity of our oceans, when they land on the beach in front of our hotels, it does impact tourism. So what can we do in preparation of those things without harming the marine life or impacting negatively? What can we do to prevent that from happening? How do we redirect those mats when they're still out at sea? It's fascinating. If you look at some of the research that our universities are doing, it is mind-blowing. And so there's just a ton of opportunity, and it's the best kept secret. And we don't want that to be the case anymore. When you've got states like Mississippi and Rhode Island and Massachusetts sort of, eating our lunch in terms of the blue economy, it hurts my heart. Florida should be, the first state you think of in the United States when you think of the blue economy.
I love it. It's such a good topic. I'm so appreciative that you brought that to us today. So I'm going to open it up for questions because I have some for Representative Skidmore, but some of you may have some questions as well. So does anyone want to just chime in? Go ahead.
Hi, this is David Beal, Kelly. You're my rep in West Boca Raton, so glad to see you. I have a question, an important topic, not such a happy topic, but nevertheless, home insurance. Can you give us an update what's going on? I hear more companies are pulling out of Florida. Citizens is overloaded. System's going to crash any minute. So what are we doing about it?
Yeah, so the legislature made some attempts in a special session to stabilize the market. The effort was not directed at homeowners. It was directed more toward insurance companies. And we created a secondary insurance market so that the insurance companies could not have to go out into the market to get their reinsurance. That doesn't seem to have done the job that we wanted it to do, because since that, 2 more insurance companies have left. One of the issues with Citizens is that it's capped at $750,000 for the value of the home. And while that sounds like a lot, in this market, it's very, very challenging, because a home that was worth $400,000 2 years ago is now looking at $800,000 as its value, because things just skyrocketed so fast. Now, if that homeowner who now has an $800,000 house goes out into the market and can't get insurance, they are out of luck, because Citizens will not cover them. Citizens goes up to $1 million for Dade and Monroe because of a lot of reasons. We need it at $1 million for the entire state. A lot of the reason that the insurance rates went as high and are continuing to go as high as they are is because of the roofing issue and some bad actors, quite honestly, who overwhelmed the system and created a situation where people are under the impression, homeowners are now under the impression that if they have an insurance policy, that entitles them to a new roof. So I think that one of the things that we really need to do is educate consumers. For one thing, having homeowners insurance does not mean that when you need a new roof, your insurance will pay for that. I hear a lot of homeowners say, I've never filed a claim, and now my roof is 15 years old and I need a new roof, and the roofer came out and said, I'm entitled to a new roof, and they'll make it happen. And they do. And they have attorneys, a team of attorneys that the insurance companies are fighting with constantly to deny not actual claims. Insurance is for a devastating impact or an accident, or it is not a savings plan. And I think that we really need to educate consumers about that. The way that I think that we fix our insurance market, and I've been talking about this for years, is a national catastrophic risk pool. We all know how flood insurance works. We all know how affordable flood insurance is. That is because the risk is spread across the country. That we need the same thing for catastrophes. A national catastrophic risk pool is something Florida should enter into with other states, and that's how insurance works. If you spread the risk, you lower the cost, and that's where I think we have to go.
Thank you. Well, I have a question on redistricting, and you're one of the experts on that because you're on that subcommittee. So what I'm trying to get my head around is which districts represent which parts of Delray for the Florida House.
So things changed quite a bit. So I'm currently representing District 81, which is West Boca, Delray, Boynton, a little bit of Lake Worth, a little bit of Wellington, and then the Glades. So Belglade, Pahokee, South Bay. The new district, and every district in Palm Beach County changed its number except for one, which is in Northern Palm Beach, and that is Representative Gervonta Edmonds' district. So all the numbers changed in the House and the Senate, and all the lines changed. District 92, which is the new seat that I would be representing, is now very Western Boca Raton, and Western Delray from, let's see, it's a little bit of a stair step. Lyons at the very beginning, and then all the way up to Military, all the way east to Military.
East. Okay.
Then you have District 91 is strictly Boca Raton. It is literally from the coast to the Everglades. So Boca is, that's all, those are the only two districts, 91 and 92, that have Boca Raton. So the other ones for Delray are Joe Casello, which is Gwen or Amy, help me out. That's 90, not 93.
I think it's 90, isn't it?
90. That's it.
Sorry, I'm
for
looking right now. I
Delray.
think it's 90 is Casello.
Okay,
Okay.
90 is
I think.
Casello. Yes, you're right. You're right. So I don't have a cheat sheet with me.
It's okay.
So Joe is, so that seat is the eastern part of Delray. Then you have Senator Polsky, who used to have some of her district, used to have some of Delray. Now that will be entirely Lori Berman,
Okay, for the Senate.
Senator Lori Berman.
Okay. Gotcha. So then I've kind of got my head around it, but that's something that I researched. So for the average person, it's going to be hard for them to understand. So does the Palm Beach County delegation have something on a website that's like, that we can direct people to, that's easily accessible?
Yeah, it's actually the state of Florida, floridaredistricting.gov. There's a House map, a Senate map, and a congressional map. So you can look with impressive detail as to where the new district lines would be. And you can compare it to the previous district lines to see how it changed.
Okay.
And that is the best spot to get any information you want. You can print maps from there. And then you can call the committee, even call the committee and ask questions of the map drawers.
That's perfect. Okay, thank you, Amy, for putting that in there. I was just about to ask my colleague to do it. So Florida redistricting.gov. Good, because I
Yes.
need that for future candidates forums that we're going to have. So thank you so much. That's all the questions that I have. Does anyone else have any questions for Representative?
Actually, I had a question on redistricting as well.
Go ahead,
I
Jack.
mean, maybe I'm sounding ignorant about this, but why do redistricting? Why are the districts changed?
So every 10 years after the census is taken, we redraw the lines to make sure that the districts are representing as close as possible, the same number of people. So on the legislative side, on the House and Senate side, there's a lot of wiggle room. You can have as much as, 5% more in one district than another district. By law, you can go as high as 10, but by practice, the legislature rarely goes above a 5% deviation. In the congressional districts, this is super challenging because we have 28 congressional districts in the state of Florida, and you can only have a deviation of plus or minus one person. So the numbers are redone every 10 years in terms of who's living here. And we had a huge influx of people moving to Florida. It was pretty steady before the pandemic, and then it really picked up its pace. So we have a lot of new people in the state of Florida, and they're all now, we have to redraw the lines to make sure they're getting the same representation as their neighboring districts.
Great,
I'd like
thank
to-
you.
I should add also that everybody should have gotten a new voting card in the mail last month because everybody's districts changed and a lot of people's polling places changed. So they must look at that before the general election if they haven't already done it for the primary.
That is an excellent point, David. Thank you for reminding everyone of that. Right, you could go to your polling place, which did happen during the primaries, the place that you always go to vote, but it's no longer your polling place. So that's a little bit tricky. So definitely take a look at your new voting cards if you don't vote by mail and find out where your new primary polling place is. That's super important. Thank you, David.
And you can check that status at on the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections website. You just put in your information and it'll tell you.
Okay, so Well, yeah, we should probably have Wendy on here again. She's been on here before several times.
She's
So that's
fabulous.
great. Oh, so Jennifer Thompson has a question.
Morning, Representative Skidmore. Good to see you again.
You too.
I actually wanted to go back to your presentation. So I was really impressed with it, and it's a huge feat what you're trying to do. So sort of piggybacking on something Stephanie had mentioned, who are your current partners that you already have in our area, so that if you don't have a partner, we can connect you? Who are you currently working with in Boca del Rey, Boynton area?
So we work closely with Florida Atlantic University. We have, Gwen, help me with some of the names. The folks who are working with, we work with NOAA. We're working with, is it Sea
Grant with Sea Grant.
Grants?
We're
Yep.
working with Sea Grant and with Millie Ocean
Exchange.
Ocean Exchange.
So Marine Research Hub, Ocean Exchange, the Economic Development Councils, FAU, FIU, NOVA, and
So are you
Also,
focusing on really just the
and UF.
so you're focusing on just the educational institutions? Is that where the main focus is to get this going?
Not solely. What we want to do is help change the mindset of the academic researcher to not just conduct research for the sake of research. So for example, those FAU professors who discovered the deep water sponge, they published their research and it's on a shelf. And so they have to hope and pray that someone will come and license it and do something with it now, instead of doing something themselves. Passing the information I got is, well, we don't have a college of pharmacology. So, well, why not pass it off to NOVA? Get your legal departments together, work out the international or the intellectual property rights, and figure out how to produce the cure. It's not enough to do the research if you can't have the outcome that you want. And I say this all the time, we need to Gatorade everything that we're doing. You know, the University of Florida has a department that gets $4 million a year just to be innovative. And that is what our universities need. And so UF can not only do projects that it's dreaming up, but it can work with its business community who can come and say, we need a solution for this. Can you help us? And that is what we want. That is the network and the dynamic that we're after. Because if people, our researchers are, how federal and state dollars are, what the trend is in terms of funding research. It's trickling in now. And so the universities need a different revenue source to continue doing what they're doing. And we've got examples right here of how it can be done.
Well, I applaud you. And then I had a separate question, because you and I had a meeting a while ago. Are there still programs and incentives for solar for residents?
Yes. So there's rooftop solar. We still have the rooftop solar program. And that's a program where you can, as a homeowner, spread out the cost of installing solar over 12 years. And what you do is you generate the energy and sell it back to FP&L. FP&L currently pays market rate for the kilowatt hours. FP&L doesn't want to do that anymore because they feel that the folks who have rooftop solar are not participating in paying for the infrastructure and the grid and the things that allow them to have rooftop solar. And so the argument is your neighbor is going to have to pay more because you're not paying your fair share. I think that there's some truth sort of in the middle there. I don't think that FP&L should eliminate the program that we have, because in states where that happened, solar really came to a screeching halt. And that's not what we want to do in the state of Florida. It was kind of embarrassing that New Jersey was, ahead of us in solar production. But now FPNL is actually the largest producer of solar energy in the world. So there's still lots of opportunity for solar. I think there are those incentives are still in place for homeowners to spread out the cost over that 12-year period. We have to come to some agreement with the legislature and FPNL and consumers of where we land. And I think, some kind of a flat fee that rooftop solar owners pay that helps offset the cost of the grid and the infrastructure is somewhere where we could end.
Thank you.
So I see another question from Vivian DeMille. We're definitely taking advantage of having you here, Representative Skidmore. We're firing the questions at you. Vivian, unmute.
Hi, good morning. I have a question. I love the idea.
Oh, wait, Vivian, we're losing you. Type it in. Okay. Oh, no, we lost her. Okay. So I'll try to get her question. I'll text her quickly and see if we can get the question from her. Anybody else in the meantime?
I have one. Sorry.
Go ahead, Robert.
I don't have my camera on. I'm
And
sorry.
Stuart's got one. Okay. We got a
I'm
lot.
back
Okay,
too.
Robert first and then Stuart. Okay. And then Vivian, hopefully we'll get in a minute.
I'm definitely in favor of spreading the risk pool when it comes to the property insurance. But I do have a question. If I lived, you reminded me of this when you were talking about the FPL situation. If I lived in another state where the cost of living was lower and they had less risk of natural disasters, and we had a national risk pool for that, wouldn't those people have an argument that they're subsidizing the Floridians if we had a national risk pool? It's riskier down here. Wouldn't we be offloading some of that risk to people and then they're unfairly paying higher premiums to subsidize us? I thought of that when you said the FPL's argument about the people with solar panels.
So the catastrophic risk pool would be voluntary. This states that have these issues would initially have to come together. But again, you have people who live on the ocean. They have to pay more for their insurance than people who live in Ocala. And it balances itself out. But the way that you lower the rates is you have that mix of risk and non-risk, and not everybody's paying the same thing. They're paying based on the risk. But when you spread the risk across the country, you reduce the rates for everybody.
Representative Skidmore, wouldn't that also cover flooding, fires, hurricanes in the middle of the country, storms?
It's a catastrophic risk pool. So yeah.
I can't think of a state that wouldn't have some possibility of some catastrophic issue.
Tornadoes, landfills, or not landfills. I'm
Mudslides,
mudslides. Sinkholes. I was trying to say sinkholes.
So it's the risk everybody has.
There's nobody that's not at risk for one of those things anymore.
It's true.
I mean, there was an earthquake in DC, right?
So, Stuart, you had a quick question?
It's not a question, actually, it's a comment. I want to thank you, Representative Skidmore, for today's information. You're always so well prepared and organized and take the initiative. And I'm happy to tell you, or I'm happy to know that I have become one of your constituents by virtue of the redistricting. So I look forward to working with you, and thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
So Vivian, do we have you back yet?
I think I'm back. Can you hear me?
Okay, go for it. Yes, I can hear you.
Morning, Representative Skidmore. Thank you for your presentation. I love the idea of a blue economy. I'm wondering what kind of funding it would take to create a blue economy leadership or department. And is there a plan on how soon the ROI would be? Because I'm assuming just by economic growth, there'd be enough of an ROI to support to investing in it. And secondly, I would like to know your position. I mean, recently, and I'm very thankful, last year that the legislature approved a Medicaid rate increase for the first time in a really, really long time, but the vast majority of it ended up going to nursing homes. I'm in behavioral health, community behavioral health, Henderson Behavioral Health. We do a lot of work in the South Florida area. And for us, it just meant a 0.003% increase. For an organization with 700 employees, it amounts to like maybe $14,000 a year, which, and so I just want to put out there that, I think you're probably going to be, everyone up there is going to be being hit up again for Medicaid rate increases, and just wanting to know what your position is on that.
So for the first part of the question, the initial investment is not big. The Marine Research Hub and its partner Ocean Exchange recently, in this past last legislative session, got an appropriation of $300,000 to perform its functions. Gwen, what was the dollar amount we put in for our summit? It's nominal.
I think it was 50,000.
Yeah, what we need is the Department of Economic Opportunity to take this on. And that would require 1 or 2 FTEs. Just people who are focused and dedicated on making sure that we are coordinating and collaborating and we know what we're doing, and it's not just sort of haphazard. And you saw that hydrological map. If anything, there is no part of our water that is not connected. So you can say there are different algal blooms on the West Coast than there are in the Indian River, or there's pollution here, or there's, something. It is all connected. And so if we are not looking out for the environmental and economic health of all of the water, we are at risk of losing that. On the second question, I serve currently on 3 healthcare committees. There are only 4. So I often hear the same issue 4 times, 3 times in committee, and then again on the floor. I am, in my day job, I'm the CEO of the Palm Beach County Medical Society and Services. And we are Project Access, and we are the Healthcare Emergency Response Coalition and Community Health Worker Training. So those issues are completely near and dear to my heart. I am supportive of expanding Medicaid. The legislature is not. So there is a leadership dynamic, and those folks are not inclined to change the rate or increase eligibility. I will say that the previous healthcare appropriations chair felt that everyone got some kind of a slush fund from the federal government during the pandemic, that the money they received didn't just improve their bottom line, that it didn't go toward infrastructure improvements and things to protect workers in the workforce or patients. And so, for someone like me, you're just sort of fighting that mindset all the time and trying to make the case for the need that is in our community. So I am completely supportive. Unfortunately, I'm not in charge.
I think that there's an opportunity just to follow up on that right now, particularly in my part of the world, similar to what happened with FQHCs. There's the Certified Community Behavioral Health Center initiative. A lot of us, 13 of us, are funded in Florida through SAMHSA right now as pilot projects. But now with the federal government allowing for the growth of the CCBHC, I think they're approving 10 new states a year. I'm not sure the number, but I believe that's the number. If one of the ways that we can increase revenues to our system of care is through CCBHCs in Florida, which doesn't have much impact to Medicaid at all. You know, one of the questions is how much impact does the federal government have on what we do in our state? As CCBHC, it would affect maybe 20 organizations that serve the neediest mental health population, and our Medicaid system could exist as is, yet get the resources to our organizations that are really the safety net for the state of Florida. So I think that would require ACA and both DCF agreeing to apply to become a CCBHC, and also the support of our state. And I'm hoping that would be a direction that we can go in that meets the needs of everyone. Just comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. I appreciate that commentary. And if you want to get together offline and talk about ways that we can help support all those efforts going forward. And I think it's important to maybe get ahead of it as opposed to waiting until session begins. You know, we're happy to work with you on whatever those opportunities are.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Obviously, everyone had a lot of questions. We're so lucky to have Representative Skidmore with us today. So we're running up on 9 o'clock.
We're so blessed to have such great representatives and senators in our area. It's so informative, and I want to commend both Representative Skidmore and Lori Berman for the challenges they face and their ability to reach across party lines and work together on issues that affect and help all of us here in Delray.
That's what the electorate wants, I think, is for everyone to work together. So
it is.
Are you have any closing remarks, Representative Skidmore?
Thank you so much. This is a great opportunity to talk with you about issues that are important to you. And I love the ability to do that. Would love to see you guys in person as well sometime soon. But in the meantime, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to call Gwen or Amy, and we will help, whether that's legislation, whether that's some issue with an agency, constituents, casework, whatever the situation might be. We're happy to help, and we're looking forward to working with you on issues that improve our community. And like you said, what our constituents expect of us.
Thank you. Well, we hopefully will have a chance to meet you in person on November 22nd. That's our legislative lunch. It's always the Tuesday before Thanksgiving where we have our state legislators come to lunch. And so hopefully the people that are on this call will be there, and I hope you will make it too, Kelly. So
I will say, just check the date, because I think that's organizational session and there will be no legislators here.
I know. We have to check because the election obviously is on November 8th.
14 days after the election.
Yeah, so I've been in touch with Victoria on that.
Okay, all right,
legislation.
Well,
so
we're
definitely
looking forward to it.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And a safe weekend.
Be safe. So in terms of our part, we've already heard from the Sustainability Office of the city, and I did my quick update. So several of our partners are actually at the Visit Florida Governor's Conference on Tourism. So I have their updates for you just really quickly from the CRA. They just want to remind everybody that it's the First Friday Art Walk tonight, and the Arts Warehouse has just installed a new exhibition called Waves. So it's your first chance to see that, which will be great. And then Crafted on the Ave is this Saturday, September 3rd from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And that's at the Libby Wesley Plaza. So Renee wanted me to make sure that you guys knew about that. Laura presented yesterday at the CRA meeting, and the most recent Art and Jazz at West Atlanta was super successful and much loved. And so the upcoming Art and Jazz on the Aves are going to be in October at the beachside. In January, it'll be in Pineapple Grove. In May, it'll be in West Atlantic. And next July, I think they're going to shut down Atlantic Avenue again so we can have an art and jazz like we used to. So she wanted me to let you know about that as well. And as for the First Friday forums, just to let you know what the upcoming schedule is, in October, we'll be hearing from Dave Sobush from the Florida Chamber on Economic Development. In November, Laura Simon from the DDA is going to give an extended presentation on the upcoming events and their activities. In December, we'll hear from Mayor Shelley Petrolia for an end of the year update. And in January, we're going to hear from Sherry Bauer who's a vice president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, and she's going to be talking about the economy and interest rates. So that's a big kickoff in January to start 2023. So that's all I have for now, unless anybody, any closing comments, David?
No, well, it's great to see everybody and look forward to next month and the rest of the fall schedule you've lined up, Stephanie. Great job. So everybody have a great Labor Day weekend. The weather should be great. Get out and enjoy the blue economy.
Well done. Well spoken. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.